Hello and welcome to the Empowered by Design podcast. We have a very, very special episode for you coming today, episode 188. You know how I love eights. I am your host, Dr. Liz. This episode in this final season of the Empowered by Design podcast is in the theme of healthy endings, saying goodbye. And this episode is centered around grief and loss and coping with the tumultuous emotions that can come when we lose a relationship, a person that we love. And this episode is so special. I'm very excited to bring some very special people to you today and to introduce you to some amazing colleagues that I work with and that I consult with on a regular basis. I am part of a consultation group that I am so thankful for with 3 other female psychologists. It has been such a blessing to me, as you will hear in the episode. It is really a unique opportunity to kind of peek behind the curtain of what therapists do, how we take care of ourselves and each other. I am often asked by people in my life, clients, how do you manage all of the things that you hear? And there are so many different ways to take care of ourselves. Self-care is a huge component of our work as professionals, healers, helpers, people in general, and especially if you are a healer or a helper by profession or just by nature, then this is a very good episode for you and very important to consider how you take care of yourself. This is one of the most important ways that as therapists, we take care of ourselves by connecting with other therapists. We meet regularly and consistently to check in with each other about personal life stuff that we know could be affecting the work, and we have a space to talk about it, process it, clear it out. We also talk about our client concerns, things that come up. A lot of times when therapists get together, the beautiful thing is that we're validated, normalized, and have a space to really process what we are experiencing when we are helping other people, so that we come into the room as helpers and leave our own stuff outside of the room to best be attentive to our clients and the work, the therapy work. Our consultation group begins typically with a personal check-in. So everybody does a personal check-in. So when you see us at the beginning of the episode, we dive right into the personal check-ins, and then I will also share information, the biography of each one of my beautiful colleagues and their amazing work that they do and have done over the years. We, in this episode, talk about professional thoughts, experiences, trainings, research, resources. And you will also hear some personal information about each one of us. And so that is also somewhat of a different scope when you sit with your therapist in the therapy space. It is about you if you are the client, and we don't typically share. It is very intentional when we bring ourselves or our experiences into the room. In a self-disclosing kind of way. We do it with intention. There is research about how to do it, and we've all read it, and we follow it, and then we consult about it. So you will also hear that aspect of it in this episode. So this is a gift for all of us, for me to have sat and talked about some meaningful, deep, emotional things with my colleagues, and for them to have come and shared within the space of connection and support, and then also to be willing and vulnerable to share it with everyone. It is our hope, our purpose, our mission in this episode to help you, to help all of us continue to heal and grow in this lifetime, whether it is currently that you are in the thralls of grief and despair and loss. We We trust that there is some nugget of hope and peace that you can grasp from this episode. And if there is grief from before, or grief that will come right through life as we know it, that there will be something for you in this episode, and that you will come away with what you need. Trust that you will hear on all different levels, whether it's very explicitly like, here's something you can try, here's a resource you can look at, read, listen to. And then on all of the layers, there are some deeply human and existential nuggets of inspiration, healing, education, and connection. One of my favorite parts of the episode is a quote that you will hear shared: "Where there is sorrow, there is holy ground." I will leave you with that as I turn you over into the episode with Dr. Marcy Chessler, Dr. Lois Benishek, and Dr. Kristin Bertsch, my friends, my colleagues, and my consultation group. I'm so excited for this. How's everybody feeling? I feel like let's do a little check-in first, just because that is something that we do anyway when we do our consultation, which is part of what I really want this to be, is like a glimpse into what we do every time we meet. Really, like just talking about our work and how we support each other and being the best therapist we can be. So let's just go around and do a little check-in. Marcy, you go first because I want to hear about Africa.
Oh, it was great. I mean, I thought I would love the animals the most, but I think I liked all the cultural pieces, that all the people that we met, the things that we learned about in terms of the way they live in Tanzania. It was great, but I'm still recovering. It's a really hard trip. Both the flights and just being there. Yeah, I didn't sleep much, and riding in the jeeps and seeing the animals for a week. They're rough, rough, rough roads. You've never seen anything like it.
What was your favorite animal that you got up and close with?
Well, the best pictures I got were of giraffes, elephants, and lions. We saw a lot of lions, and I have some
Wow.
fabulous pictures of lions. But I
Oh,
love
that's
the
cool.
giraffes. They're just so graceful. They remind me of ballerinas.
Oh,
Yeah, and elephants I really like because of the way they hang in their families, the way, they have, there's a soul in an elephant.
Mm,
So, yeah, those were my favorites. And we got up really close.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I'm still
Okay.
recovering, so.
I'm going to read the bios because I think that will be helpful. I'm going to read yours, Marcy. Marcy Chessler, PhD, is a licensed psychologist based in Pennsylvania, where she currently maintains a private practice. She earned her doctorate in counseling psychology from Temple University, where she later served as the training director at Temple University Counseling Services. Dr. Chessler has extensive training in grief and loss counseling, and her research has focused on adult attachment styles and adjustment to life-threatening illness. In her clinical work, she is passionate about helping individuals navigate transitions, build resilience, and find meaning through life's most difficult experiences. Love that. Welcome. Lois,
okay.
you're up.
Okay. So here's my check-in. It's a really busy, crazy week. It's probably the busiest week since I started this practice that I've
Wow.
had. So, and what that means is, so I'm all about numbers because I'm always looking for like, oh, wow, really? Like some support. So honest to God, so I have 17 clients and I'm really slow with my case notes. I hate case notes. I hate them. I hate them. So I have 17 clients, 5 meetings, this podcast, I'm going to a dinner one night this week, and I'm
Oh.
hosting a party, a Halloween party on Friday night.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
I
What's your costume?
A cow. I'm from Iowa, so it's a dairy cow. I'm a
I
dairy
love it.
cow.
I love
hmm
it.
hmm
I come from a line of dairy farmers,
Oh my
so
gosh! If you ever,
a connection we did not know until just
we did
now.
not know. You ever want to borrow my cow
I just
costume?
might, Lois. I
Right.
might.
So anyway, so it's going to be a busy week, and with extra things thrown in that I didn't mention. But my goal is just to like put my head down, be very organized, which is like me. So I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what I absolutely have to get done so that I'm ready by 6 o'clock when people arrive. And I abandon them because I need to run out and get some of the get some of the food. I'm cooking some of the food, but go grab the pizza. So people arrive, and then I say, "See you later." I go get the pizza because I don't have somebody that I can say, "Honey, can you get the pizza?"
Mm,
Mhm.
So anyway, but I kind of I look forward to Friday night, but I'm also going to look forward to Saturday.
yeah. Oh, that's fun. I love when there's other things going on, like you have meetings and you have this podcast. These are different things outside of the scope of therapy. And then I don't know if this is true for you, but you said I'm going to put my head down. I feel like when I get in my therapy chair, right? It's just like it just is I'm home, right? Like all the other stuff you don't know how it's going to go. You don't know how the podcast is going to go. You don't know how the meetings are truly going to go. You don't know how the party's going to go. It could all be like, who knows. But and we also don't know how the therapy
I
sessions are
was
going
going
to
to
go.
say that. Yeah.
But there's something about it that when I'm like I have so much other stuff going on, and then I sit and I get in my zone, and I'm like, all right, I'm good here.
Never feels like it's going to be that way, though. It always feels like, how am I going to do this? I have so much on my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, here I am.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons I love our group. So just to say, I'm the newest member of this foursome consultation group, and have so appreciated when Kristin messaged me several months ago to say, there's an opening. Do you want to join? And I was like, do you think I'll fit? Do you think I'll fit in? And truly, this has been one of the most amazing connection pieces in my life since, So, I've said that before, and I say it again, like it is, I think it was so beautiful for me because I didn't like, you need it, and you don't know how much you need it until you have it, the connection, right? And for
Mhm.
me, I'm just so grateful for all of you. So thank you. Lois, I'm going to read your bio. Lois Benishek is a psychologist who has used her degrees in multicultural counseling and counseling psychology in a range of professional positions: that of faculty member, university administrator, addictions researcher, and most recently, psychotherapist and career coach. Her interest in death, grief, and all sorts of goodbyes has been present since she was a child. She loves to R&R, rest and read, in cemeteries. The obituary section of a newspaper is among her favorite parts to read, and she strives to be intentional and present with various endings in her life. One of her favorite grief sayings is, "Where there is sorrow, there is holy ground," by Oscar Wilde.
Hmm.
I love that saying. I love that quote.
Hmm. That's great. I realize now in my bio, I wrote nothing really about grief.
That's okay.
No.
But can you say more about that quote? Because I just, I was like, oh, that is a beautiful place for us to start.
Oh my gosh. I can say that obviously it's not my quote. It's a quote you said from Oscar Wilde. So, I don't know what I have really nothing more. See, this is what's bad about this. I have nothing more to say about that
That's
quote.
okay.
I
It
know that,
says so much. It
but I
says so
know
much.
like when I'm reading, or I mentioned to Marcy over the weekend, for some reason, it wasn't because of this podcast, but I clicked on Anderson Cooper's All There Is Grief
Mhm.
podcast, and I started to rewatch. He has 3 or 4 seasons of it. And
Hmm.
so I'm actually wondering if I got that quote. No, I didn't. I got that quote from somewhere else, but I'll be watching, like, say, these podcasts, and then I'll be like, oh my God, that's a great thing to say. And I'll write it down because
Mm.
it resonates with me for some reason. And I'm always hoping that if it resonates for me, it'll resonate for someone else, or maybe even for a client.
Yes, I believe so. Well, I love that you shared it with us because that is one of the reasons that I love having this podcast is that we absorb and hear and see and witness so many beautiful but also sometimes tragic things. And I always feel like if I'm hearing something and it helps me, if I can send it out to someone else, whether it's one person sitting across the room from me in the therapy space, or a friend at lunch, or further and wider, then yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Kristin, you're up.
Check in. Let's see. Things are status quo. I had a really good time in New York.
Did you?
Yes. Really good conversation with my aunt. I can tell you. I'm
Good.
going to that on Thursday. Yeah, it
Yay.
went. Yeah. Best outcome happened, which was just her asking for more information, which was, I mean, such a gift. And then I spent some time with my friends, and that I think went really well. Um, and we tried something from TikTok where you like hold hands, you lock legs, and then you turn around and your hands are on the floor, and then you put both legs on top of everybody else's legs.
Oh,
God,
How
wow.
how
did
do
it?
you even do that?
I hope you
I have
videoed
no
it. Did you
visual.
video it?
I have no
So
visual.
so I forgot who said it, but like it might have been Kelly just trying to video us doing it, but like I don't remember who said what, but like someone said you have to video us the whole time just trying, so it's probably a good 20-25 minutes of video of us failing and falling, and I fell a couple times, like I bit it a few times. um I thought it was strong. It's really hard once everyone gets their legs up there, like,
I
but it was
bet.
a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Like, I vote that we try to do at least one thing from TikTok every time we get together.
I love that. I love that.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then went to a pumpkin carving party on Saturday. We did not win the contest, but it was still fun. And yeah, so great. It was great to get out of the city. We were in Lancaster for the night, so it was nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's fun. One of my goals this year is to take myself less seriously. And right, like you have
Yeah.
to, because we do hold so much serious energy in our
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
And one of the things that why this is so important is that we don't have to hold it on our own.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have to hold it on our own. We share it with others who get it and speak the same language.
Yeah.
But doing things like that, like the TikTok videos and pumpkin carving and Halloween parties and trips to Africa, it keeps
Yeah.
us balanced. Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna tag on to that a little bit. Liz, I have a
Yes.
question for you. Who is going to
Yes.
be watching this? Other therapists or clients?
Everyone. Yeah.
Everyone.
So this is public. So
Okay.
we won't say any identifying information.
Right.
But I do think it will be helpful for us to be able to speak about our client experiences in a way that what we know is that if one client is experiencing this, even though grief is unique. Loss is unique to each person. We know that there are some very human aspects of connection that we all experience or all have the potential to experience through grief. That is really why when I thought about this idea in vivo while the four of us were in consultation, I'm like, oh, this will be a great idea, because I believe we were talking about grief. We were talking about someone, one of our clients or several different clients grieving loss, whether through death or through a relationship ending that they come in different ways. Today we're focusing on grief through loss and death, but I think there's the opportunity is here as well to talk about the other, endings in general, as we've mentioned.
Okay.
One of the ways that I really learned a lot about loss was in working with families of disabled children and learning about the loss of the dream of what having a typical child would mean in their lives, and now having to change that perspective and to accept a child. So that was a huge part of my learning about loss.
Yeah. It just adds so much depth and complexity to
Yeah,
grief
the
in
child was
general.
still there. They had to change their expectations and their hopes. Yeah.
Yes.
Marcy, too, what that triggers in me is, and I'm going to say one of my fears about this podcast is that I'm going to be too talkative.
You will
You
not.
always have
You
something
will
good to
not.
say.
Yes. I love when you talk. I really, really do.
That's very kind of you, says the host. The host. Because Marcy, what that triggers in me is like I have two clients with two adolescent to late adolescent children who are trans kids. So working with the parents where they had this expectation that their little girl, that they'd be going to pick this daughter that was born that they've lived 16 years with, it they'd be going to pick out prom dresses and things like that, and to give that up has been a struggle. But what's beautiful about the clients that I have, I feel so fortunate, like they love their kids. They're like, whatever is going to make them happy.
Both and
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
absolutely.
So
And
refreshing.
and then as a little pearl, there's again, for therapists or any clients there, or just people in general that might be watching this, there's a story called, oh my gosh, Welcome to Holland.
oh yeah,
Do you know Welcome to Holland?
I've heard about it. I don't. I think it's been. Isn't it a short story?
It is. It's like a page long, and it's a
Yeah.
story written by somebody. And the basic story goes: this person, for some reason, I have a woman in my head, is planning a trip to Italy. I know nothing about Italy, and so she gets all excited. She reads guidebooks about Italy. She maps out her tour. When she lands in Italy, she's going to do this, do that, go see this, go see that, etc., etc. She gets on the plane. She's going to Italy. The plane lands, and the flight attendant says, "Welcome to Holland." And she's like, "I didn't plan to go to Holland. Holland doesn't have X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C." So it was like, this is not what I planned for. This is not what I was expecting. This is not what I'm wanting. I didn't want Holland. I wanted Italy. And then as the story moves forward, she gets off the plane and she sees like there's a lot of beauty in Holland, basically.
Wow.
But it fits with Marcy, with what you were saying, where you have these expectations and then they're gone and you have to like recreate what your present is and what your future is. So anyway, welcome to Holland.
When you said that, I even I could feel the vroom in my stomach, right? Like the way that our bodies communicate to us what we're feeling, right? That I just imagining, just imagining that reaction. I love that. I'm going to read Kristin's bio. Dr. Bertsch is currently an associate professor in the Department of Family Medicine at Rowan Virtuous School of Osteopathic Medicine and serves as the course director for the Community Service Learning and Leadership Longitudinal Curriculum and is the project director of New Jersey Area Health Education Center Grant. She is a psychologist by training and sees clients at the Rowan Family Medicine Practice in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Dr. Bertsch completed her postdoctoral residency and doctoral internship at the University of Pennsylvania's Counseling and Psychological Services. She earned her doctorate degree from Lehigh University and her master's degree from Arcadia University. Within the healthcare community, Dr. Bertsch is a recognized resource for working with those with multiple minoritized identities, training medical students on the impact of implicit bias on healthcare outcomes, and training students to be culturally responsive, well-rounded physicians. She has taught at the graduate level, presented at numerous national conferences, and is a published author in her field. Her clinical interests include working with patients around life transitions, chronic illness, family relationships, LGBTQ+ identities, the intersection of identities, for example, race, gender, sexual orientation, discrimination, trauma, and mood regulation. Welcome, Kristin.
Thanks.
Welcome, Kristin.
Thanks.
It's fun to read that because I mean,
Yeah.
I know Marcy more than I know you. That was fun to hear.
It was fun to read all of yours, yeah, because we never when I joined, we didn't do here's my bio. But yeah, that was really fun.
I think in one of my bios, I do have grief and loss in there, but I always find it funny when I leave it out, unintentionally. But that's like a metaphor. I think I've had to work hard to not avoid grief and loss, since it is such a part of my everyday life and
Yes.
working with clients as well. So it's just interesting when I'm like, oh, it's not in that bio.
Yeah.
Was I avoidant that day?
Were you what, Kristin? What did you say?
Was I avoidant that day?
Well, that is one thing, when we were going through training, I remember, there's that aspect of our training that says, well, if you haven't dealt with this specific thing, can you really help other people deal with it? Right. And I remember that a lot around addiction. If you're not an addict, if you have never struggled with substance abuse, can you really help someone in that realm? And of course, we know that we can. Yes, we can. And then the humanity of grief, as you said, Kristin, it's something that we are dealing with every day in our work, but then also as human beings throughout the course of our lives in different ways. And again, grief is unique to all of us, all of our experiences, but that is one thing that is part of the human experience that clinicians, therapists, helpers, healers also manage in their personal lives as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe even the losses and the grief has kind of spurred us on to be in this profession.
Yeah.
Having been one person who had a lot of losses as a young person before I even went to college. So, and some of my interest in my research is really brought on by having, witnessed and been watched my father be sick all through my high school years and watching him die.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't have the perfect formula for it, right? There is, even though we're sitting here and we've read research, we've done research, we've helped countless people through grief and helped ourselves and our family and friends. There is no perfect formula for it.
Right. And I've had clients who get angry at me when I can't give them the perfect formula and they want to be fixed and they want to be finished sooner than is actually possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think even if you, I mean, for me, I'll just speak for myself, even when I have clients that kind of sit with that, like it's so, I can like feel the pain and the pleading, like,
Mhm.
like enough already. And I'll say, yeah, I hear you, and
Yeah.
it's almost, uh, sometimes I feel this, you know, helplessness, in terms of just knowing what it's like to be in that kind of
Mm.
acute state and knowing that, like, whew, you just gotta get through it. And it's just really, it's hard to sit with sometimes.
Yeah.
There was prior group consultation member. I'll give her a shout out. Her name was Bonnie Queen. I don't know. Kristin and Marcy, did you meet Bonnie?
No.
I think I've heard you talk about.
Yeah. So one of the things Bonnie would say in terms of talking about anything that was coming up for her that was like an add on, or clients that we have where it's like it's one trauma and then another trauma and then another trauma. One of the things that Bonnie would say, she'd come to consultations meeting and she would say AFGO, which was another fucking growth opportunity. And it was sort of
Yeah.
like that. She was just like, can I just have a little break here? Or
Yes.
clients that we have that we sort of wish it's like, oh, could they just, yeah, like have a break? 3 months of no significant, grief related challenges or other challenges. Another fucking growth opportunity. I think I'm done. I think I'm done
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
while. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel too, in a personal way, very, sometimes I get frustrated with myself for not being able to move through it as fast as other people, right? Like, I had a recent conversation with one of my very dearest friends. I call her my treasure friend, who tragically lost her mom. We were 8,
Mm.
and it was a car accident. She was in the car with her mom. Yeah.
Mm.
So, and we were just speaking about it the other day. She was sharing with me that, she knows that there's a part, she has flashes of the memory, and there's a part of her that knows there's more in there. And she's like, I've thought about going to, she didn't do formal therapy. She is one of the strongest people in my life that I know. So resilient. She has a chronic medical condition that she is just like, she said, I don't have a choice to sit and cry about it. Right. Like she was telling me, I was sharing some struggles I'm going through in my life or have been. And one of her things was like, yeah, she said, and I'll cry, and then someone will be like, okay, are you done? Let's move on. And for me, I'm like, like that doesn't work for me all of the time. I have to go through it. And sometimes I'm like, get frustrated with myself for, come on, get through it, get to the happy emotions. And then I also recognize that is why I'm really good at my job, is because I can sit and sit and sit with the pain. And I think we are all uniquely strong in that, right? We have to be able to be there with each other and with our clients and family and friends in that pain. And then also, we also can feel, I know for me, it's like a body thing. I start to feel like, okay, you need to go take a walk. You need to like move the body to move the emotions through.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
here comes Lois again.
If I wait, I'm like, I could ask a question, but I'm like, if I wait,
So obviously Lois felt the most uncomfortable with that silence, and so that's why
ah,
she's jumping in. She just should have sat and waited in her chair for Kristin or Marcy. Okay, but so here's what this triggers in me again, thinking about what the audience is saying. So, in your story, so again, I said that I'd been re-listening to Anderson Cooper's podcast, All There Is. He interviewed Molly Shannon. So every week he interviewed, for the most part, he interviews a different
Mm.
person that you possibly have heard about to
Mm-hmm.
focus on the theme is grief, grief and loss,
Yes.
grief and loss, grief and loss. Because Anderson lost his dad in a heart surgery when he was 10 years old. His brother died by suicide when he was 23. His mom witnessed him jumping out of the
Mm.
building in New York City,
Jeez.
all this stuff. So, but one of the people he interviewed was Molly Shannon, who, like your friend, lost her mom. She was 4 years old in a
Mm.
car accident. Oh, she was not in the car though. Was she in the car? But her dad was had an alcohol use disorder, so his dad was drunk, driving her mom, her little sister, and a cousin. There was a car accident, and everybody but the dad was murdered. Molly was 4 years old, and people avoided processing that death with her, except she was Catholic, so she puts on this Irish brogue, and she's like, and Father Shanahan came to me and he said, Molly, this is a very tough and a very hard experience that you've had. I want you to know that, or whatever. But she talks about moving through her life, and the family moved to a different house, and she said she was always expecting to see her mom again, that
Mm.
she'd go to this new house
Oh,
and turn a corner and go into a room, and maybe that's where her mom would be, and
yes.
that it wasn't. And then she
Mm.
talked about how that mother loss impacted her, and some of the decisions that she made in her life. So I offer that up to your friend or to anybody that's watching this. That's one of the segments. If somebody's had mother loss at a young age,
Yes.
that's tragic.
And interestingly, almost verbatim, my friend said, when I was downstairs in my house, I just thought she was upstairs. And when I was upstairs, whew, that makes me so emotional. Just like imagining, right, as a child, that I mean, as an adult, our brains can't process death
Right.
well at all. And then as a child, it's just that it goes to that attachment. Marcy, as your, kind of that specialty of yours is that like in the article that we had read, the four of us, there was that aspect of attachment and permanence and the aspect of like knowing something or believing something is endless.
Right.
And then when they're physically no longer present, but they're still there with us forever, it just doesn't make sense. Where, like, why aren't I seeing my loved one when they're with me in my heart? And that can be comforting, but also extremely confusing.
And I think that's a really, um, it could be a good explanation, when people are asking that question, like, why am I still grieving, or this thing happened and I just broke down, and it's, like if we're thinking about like neural pathways, it's like another neural pathway has been created, aka another layer of reality has come to light. And so that's going to hurt because it's not, because it's just another layer of reality that you haven't experienced yet or before. So I just think I think it could take a lifetime, to really, to get used to it in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do all of you, a question I get a lot around grief, well, we have the stages of grief, but a lot of my clients resonate really a lot more with waves of grief, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
having grief come in waves. How do you answer that question of like, when will it be over? When will I get through it?
Usually,
I can't be specific with them. I liken the grieving process to be like a line of fire in front of them or a
Mm.
patch of fire or whatever, and that they have to walk through it to get to the other side, meaning that they have to experience all those phases, those feelings that go along with grief, the fear and and the guilt and the anger and
Mm.
sadness, that they can't, and there's no timeline. There's no specific timeline for it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's amazing to me how quickly people think they should get on.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, I have had people 4 months, 3 months, inside of a year, even 2 years, like, oh, I should be through this by now. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, and I think for me, when I first started seeing things like that, it was a good, mirror even for me to be like, oh, that was normal. Like that was, I remember going to, I used to go to this like international survivors of suicide day. They used to have this like event at, oh my goodness, I can't remember the hospital, the name that had it, but they had it like right before Thanksgiving or something, like, because it was going into the holidays. And I think at that point I might have been like 3 or 4 years from my brother's death. And then I went into the siblings group, and there was like people who were just inside of a year or just a year. And I remember looking at them and being like, oh my God, like that was normal. Like I was like, I remember being a year out, and, you know, there was all these, whether it was friend expectations or work expectations or school expectations that I was not meeting. And I was not meeting, and I was being told I was not meeting them, and being like, oh God, like, almost feeling guilty. Like, am I using this as an excuse?
Mm.
Like, is this like,
Kristin, yeah.
and feeling a lot of guilt about that. Um, and then like seeing people and like almost, oh my God, like, and I was looking at them being like, of course you're not well. But like for
Yes.
me, like, I don't know, maybe in therapy, but I don't know how much messaging I was getting that, like, I mean, I won't say I was getting like, get over it, but I think when expectations weren't adjusted for me, and I'm not saying it was a conscious process, like, we're not going to adjust expectations for her, but when people expected me to act like, be the same level of friend, same level of daughter, same level of whatever, and I wasn't doing it, like, I was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. So it took
Mm.
seeing
Yeah.
someone else to realize, to really let it click that, like, this is not, which is sad, right? We can't be that nice to ourselves. We see someone else hurting and we're like, oh, you're fine, like, you're right where you need to be, like, there's nothing wrong with you, like, you're totally there. But when it's you, I think we're just so socialized, especially, I mean, we're all women here, we're socialized as women, like, so I can't speak for other genders, but I think it's just like this guilt, like, you need to persevere, and you need to move on, and you need to carry the family, you need to be the friend, be the whatever, and you're just like, no, like, you can't, and maybe some people can, but that's not, there's no rules, there's no set timeline, as Marcy was saying, like, you get back up when you get back up fully.
And sometimes you fall back down.
Yeah, that's right. Some days you're
Get
Yeah.
like,
back
oh,
up, fall back down. I'm
some
going
days,
back to bed.
yeah, you have a slew of days where things
Yeah.
are fine and
Yeah.
okay, and then you have a day where it just knocks you right on your, what.
Yeah. And well, and what it's, as you were painting that picture, for, it's almost like you were able to give yourself grace and love to see what your experience was 3 years previous, prior
Whatever
to
it
that,
was.
right,
Yeah.
whatever the timeline was, but just like, oh wow, yeah, when you're in it, it's so difficult to know. You're like in this, whether it's a storm or just like this mire of grief,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just trying to get through the day
Mm-hmm.
as best you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The beauty in this, I would say, is that in terms of therapists, would be if we're able to sort of to tap in, like Kristin, I'm thinking about your story. If you're able to tap into your grief process, how hard it was going to the whatever group that was that you went to, and listening to
Mm.
people that are 6 months out, 1 year out, and saying, "Wow, like they need to be more
They need
patient
to,
with
they need to
themselves."
be nicer to themselves. Like,
Patient.
wow.
Yeah, and that you'd been there so through this grief process, and so I think that does affect that if a therapist is aware of significant grief moments, grief and loss moments, and able to tap into that we can certainly use it with the clients. And then one issue that comes to mind for me is when to self-disclose and when not to self-disclose to a client
Mm.
about
Right.
your, like, yeah, when it's important to say, I too have had X, or have experienced X.
Yeah.
That can be hard sometimes.
Well, and I will say to your point, Lois, I think that I always prided myself on being an empathic person, from the get, which is what drew me to this field. And after that, I really felt like my empathy for pain, for deep, deep
Mm.
pain, whether it be loss or what have you, like it surprised me, but I was like, I even feel it more now. Cause like once you've
Yeah.
been to the depths, like it's, whatever kind of pain someone was in, I just felt, it's weird to say, but just comfortable sitting in.
Mhm.
Um, because yeah, once you've been there, I think, and that's, so even though I maybe hadn't been there for those experiences, like you were saying, addiction or whatever, but pain,
Mhm.
could empathize with. And I think when to disclose, that's so tricky. And I would say it's been, what year are we in? 25. It's been, oh my God. Well, I guess it'll be 14 years in February,
Oh God.
Mm.
right? 2012,
Oh yeah.
26. Is that 14?
Yeah.
I'm doing math right. I've disclosed it one client. And that was only because like the client had also lost a sibling and they were that way and they were feeling like the only person in the world. And after like the second or third session of them saying that, I was like, well, actually, I felt like, of course, if anybody listens to this now, they'll know. But I mean, it's not a secret. It's just um, that was the only time it felt like really relevant and like it would be helpful.
Yes.
What
That's.
made you think that though, Kristin? I'm
I,
curious.
because the client had said over multiple sessions after losing, they had lost their sibling to suicide, and there was this, I mean, verbally, but this sense of like, no one understands, like, no one has been through this. I don't know anyone that's been through this. And after hearing that, I wanted to be clear that our experiences are different because we're different people. And I'm not, like, because I think that's also a part of it. And just saying, you know, I was like, and I told her I'm going to be very intentional and self-disclose this. And I'll never know if that had the therapeutic value that I had thought had intended it to, but um, it seemed like it would based on all the information I've had. So
Yeah, I mean, I have once in a while done that, but it's all about a feeling I have. So I was wondering if there was anything more concrete that you
I mean,
had.
it was the type of loss and I'm the
Mm.
only one. So it was that, hearing that, and it was a feeling like I really feel like this is the time that it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Because I've had other people who have had losses and I've thought about it, and even a couple people now I think about it, but I don't have that feeling, and so I'm just like, I just don't
yeah.
know that it'll be that
Mm.
helpful,
Yeah.
Right,
or they won't flip around and then feel concerned about me, which is, I mean,
right.
I have a spiel for that too, but yeah.
Kristen, what comes to mind for me, if I was your client, if I was that client and you were my therapist, and you had this, I'm going to call it a secret, and you held on to that secret until maybe the end of our therapy. It was our last session. And you, for some reason, you decided to disclose then, I would feel betrayed by, I would feel betrayed.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you
I
Yeah.
was
can't.
begging her. I was begging her.
Right. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
okay, like because
Yeah.
you just, as therapists, I think we're always afraid. We don't want to like be selfish. It's all about the client. It's all about the client. And right. But it's like, but I was like, I was like, what other sign do I need?
There,
I think we're good.
yeah, there was intentionality in it, right? Like there's a feeling, there's an intuition. I think we're all saying, and I love that, tapping into that as a therapist, because there is, you've disclosed one time, right? Like, it means it was necessary. It was therapeutic. It was going to be helpful, and you trusted yourself on that. I remember when I was supervising therapists in training, right, years ago, and I remember really like seeing a lot of therapist self-disclosure to the point where I'm like, no, stop, please stop, please stop. This is not yes, it can be helpful, but this is not the gift of a therapist. The gift is not, oh, me too, I've experienced it and here's how I've helped, right? It's very much like there's so many other aspects of helping that come before sharing our experience that may also be similar in nature and also help. In this case, clearly your client was like begging for somebody to be able to sit with them in that awful, awful pain. Yeah. And you did it intentionally. Mm-hmm. I attended a continuing ed class with, I want to say that author is Robert Niedermeyer. I have the book like over there. Does that sound familiar, Marcy? Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty prolific.
Yes. And I have the book, and I remember one of the things that I took away from that training was amazing. When you learn so much and you're just kind of like, oh, what do I do with all of this? Bought the book, it's still on the shelf, right? And I have gone through it here and there, but one of the metaphors he shared that stuck with me, and I've shared it over and over, was that the image of dropping a pebble into a lake or a pond. And, when you drop it, the rings are like right there, right there, right there, right there, very close together. And then they spread out and they spread out and they spread out. And there's more distance and space between each ring of that evidence of the dropping the pebble into the water. And that he used that to help illustrate the process of grief, that at the beginning it's like, you're in it, and it will never ever go away, and it should never go away, right? So when our clients are like, when am I going to be done with this, when am I going to get over it, one of my answers is never. You will, this grief, this loss, this love that you have for this person, this relationship, this dream, whatever the loss is, will never be gone. It is a part of you. But it changes, whether it's coming in waves or it's like this, there's time and space that spreads out with the intensity of it, and the frequency of it over time becomes more manageable. But yeah, it will never go away.
And I love that, and I'm going to take that.
It's not mine. It's Robert Niedermeyer's.
And credit him. But I'm just thinking about just the identity shift that happens. I don't know what that, when something like so big and such a loss happens, and even thinking about grief in terms of, Marcy, you were bringing up, people who have children who live with disabilities. And then I'm thinking about people who have chronic illness and they have to stop maybe doing what they love, or their life has to change. And in some kind of drastic way, they can't do things that they used to be able to do. And how the rings are so close to each other initially, and how it doesn't ever stop. but you have to shift and morph your talents, your ideas, whoever you are, into a different way of being. And even if, even when maybe you integrate this new set of circumstances into your life, like you don't lose that part of you. That doesn't disappear, that doesn't go away. You don't ever not think about it. I think it always is a part of who you are. And I just think, once that pebble drops in that pond, like you can't undrop it.
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's just, I think that is also, and Marcy, I'm so glad you brought that up in the beginning. Like that's another type of grief, like a loss of your own, I don't know, ability or or adjustment of your limitations, or however you want to name it. And I just think that deserves like a lot of space and time too.
Yeah. And as an aging person, and I'm, a senior citizen, I experience that on a daily basis almost, that have to come to terms with the things that I cannot do physically anymore, or not as well anyway. Yeah. That's
For
something that I think is is not really addressed very often.
sure.
I also like the dropping a pebble in the pond metaphor, which is actually something I believe that John F. Kennedy spoke about, or he used that not with regard to grief, but for some other reason. I think that that's where that might have come from. But it's hard. I'm thinking about some clients that we've had when they stay in. So those rings that are tight, they're just tight, 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 tight. It's nice if it would be like tight, tight, oh, looser, 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 looser. But when you have those clients when they're just staying in that tight, those tight rings, and it's like they're just stuck there. They're just stuck there. They're just stuck there. And you're really, I'll speak for myself, really just wanting them to, I don't know, breathe into this or something, like loosen up or allow something into themselves. I don't know if that's acknowledgement of feelings or whatever it is, all the feelings that might allow them to have those rings loosen up over time. But it is hard when it's like they're stuck, they're stuck, they're stuck, and your goal is just to, I'm just going to be here with you. I'm just going to be here with you. It's the 70-second session of this. But it's at that point in time, if it's a 70-second session, that I'm sitting in my chair thinking, what am I not doing here? What? And because this is a lot of pain, maybe for me in part, but also for
Sometimes,
them.
yeah, sometimes what I've learned in the training that I've had is to try to shift the emotional state. And that's not always easy. I mean, it's just that sometimes our clients get stuck in one place, in one emotional state, and just shifting it in some way. It's not easy, but that can
Marcy,
help break
would,
through. And yeah,
would that be like from sadness and like deep sadness and pain to anger or something
yeah.
like that? Okay.
Hmm.
That's also where I love the aspect of group work too, right? Is that
Yeah.
for me, you all know how much I love my therapy group, and we are human as therapists, and I think sometimes when I get to that point, Lois, of like, oh, what has to happen here? I'm feeling stuck with you. And to be able to communicate that on some level, right, with the client there's a stuckness here. I think that's one of the ways that I do it is, and they're like, yes, like, what do we do about that? So when it's an individual work, it can feel heavy for us as the therapist to like, wait, what am I not doing? Right. And again, it's I think that's something we thankfully we have consultation to talk about. But when I'm in the group space, I love to see how the world, the microcosm of the world comes into play and just really shines a light on things in different ways. It's such a beautiful, beautiful witnessing of humanity when others are caring for each other. It's lovely. One of the things that my therapy group has shown is like people come into group for a certain thing, and while they're there, they have experienced tragedy and loss and right and it's like, wow, thank God they have this space. And they all say that. They're like, this group has helped me. I didn't even know how much I would need this space until I needed this space. Kind of like what I said about our consultation group is there's just this power of connection that as we talk about grief it's right here for us to again highlight that we sometimes want to crawl under the covers and just kind of bury our head.
Mm-hmm.
And the healing power of connection, community, even if it's just sitting in silence on the couch and doing nothing other than being in proximity, is so powerful.
Yeah. Well, and I was, as you were mentioning the article, I was like looking at the continuing bond, that thing
Yes.
like your relationship doesn't end, it changes.
Mm.
And so, and I think for me, I cut that off. Like when my brother died, I barely, I mean, I probably talked about him more in the last half an hour than I have last year,
Mm.
and so, but, and that was like a protective, something protective for me. Not that I wasn't feeling it. I mean, I had my therapy once a week, but like in terms of talking about him, no one that I was around knew about him, like knew him. So because I was still in my doctoral program, I was still go. So, but when my dad died, it'll be 4 years this December, I said, I don't want that. Like, because I don't want to live without him. Like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
just cut him out. Like, there's just no
Mm.
way. And so I think finding ways, no matter how long it's been, to pick that bond back up or to recognize, like, you don't have to be without it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can withstand it. I think has been so important to me. And I'm not great at it. I mean, right? Like my bio, evident, case in point, leaving things out. But I think that being able to shift to how do I stay more connected to them rather than cut myself off has been and is still like an ongoing process. So I think the continuing bond is, I think in the beginning that can feel very like, no, that's not good enough. Cause it isn't, but but to be able to think of ways to still bring that person into your life or those
Mm.
people into your life can be
I
really
love that.
helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love, Kristin, I love that you shared that. One of the things that I have learned, even just being around people who have lost in my personal life, one of my sisters-in-law lost her father tragically, probably 15, 16 years ago. And one of the things I have loved about being her sister-in-law is and her family is that he's always here, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's talked about, he's mentioned almost every gathering, if not like in passing there's a story or my dad did this, bless you.
Thank you.
That to me is something that I also then carry into my work with others. Just what you said, Kristin, is that they're physically not here. And regardless, there's different beliefs about where they are spiritually. But they're here in our hearts forever. And when we decide to cut them out, or like whether intentionally or not, right? Like just out of protection for that grieving process, I've seen so much beauty in always having them here in story and in anecdote and in lessons. And what would he say if you were here? Right. Like that to me seems like it has been one of the healthiest approaches in the grieving and loss process.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to thank you all so much for coming on this podcast episode about loss and grief. This is one of the episodes in the final season of my podcast, which has been about how to have healthy goodbyes, how to navigate endings, whether you chose it or not. And of course, in what we're talking about today, we don't choose it, right? We don't choose these endings, and it's hard. And so I thank you all for coming and being vulnerable personally and professionally here to help our clients, help whoever's listening, because there have been explicit things that we've shared, whether they're resources, and then also on those different levels, those implicit, more deeper level things that you may hear as you listen to this episode that touch you on a human level or a subconscious level, that can give you just that whisper of hope or strength that you need for today to carry you through this day. So thank you all so much for joining me here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Mm-hmm.
And thank you for listening. I invite you all to check out the show notes for the resources that were mentioned. We will put information there, as well as the bios for our therapists here. And I invite you to share this episode. One of the most sometimes hopeless or powerless feelings that we as humans can have, as you heard, is how can I help? Sometimes we just don't know how to help. And this is a resource that is intended to help. There's so many beautiful nuggets of wisdom and connection and love here. So if you are struggling yourself with grief, I hope this is helpful. If you know someone who is struggling with loss and grief, we invite you to share this episode with someone that you love and give them a gift of hope and resilience and peace in this time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See everybody on
Bye.
Thursday.
Thanks.
Bye.